When I was a kid, I inhaled frequently. That was the point.
Did you hear that? That was the sound of handcuffs clicking on someone, because every 19 seconds, somewhere in America, someone's arrested for drugs. Every 19 seconds. So what does my crystal ball show? Well, Colorado and Washington just legalized weed. What'll that mean? Let's ask Theodore Dalrymple, former prison psychiatrist who says drug laws are absolutely needed. And Nick Gillespie of Reason TV, who says, are you kidding me? These laws do more harm than good. So what do you mean more harm than good?
Well, I think any dispassionate analysis of the costs and
benefits.
Nobody's
dispassionate.
Well, let's put it this way. Any dollars and cents, any barely rational cost-benefit analysis of the war on drugs, I think, would come out and say that these laws, to the extent that they do anything good, the costs are much higher in terms of human suffering, in terms of violence driven by black markets, and in terms of the disruption of American foreign policy, American education policy, and American medical policy.
Because the law creates all these black markets.
That's right. It causes many more problems than it addresses.
Now, Dr. Dalrymple, I can't really argue with him because I agree with him.
Yes.
But you don't, so why are we wrong?
I don't agree because actually a lot of the problems of drug taking do not arise out of their illegality. For example, the biggest drug problem in this country at the moment is legally prescribed opiates. 2 million people have been turned into addicts by perfectly legal means, and there are many other examples in the world.
Oxycodone.
Yes, OxyContin, that kind of thing.
Government is not making hundreds of thousands of arrests a year over OxyContin. They're doing it over marijuana, basically, and that's where we need to be talking about. Do we want to have a massive federal and state and local project that we call the war on drugs going on, where it's filling up prisons, where it is taking time away from other necessary purposes and things like that, all to say, like, let's say that there are some people who get addicted to a particular type of drug. That doesn't mean all drugs should be illegal, because that's not what the typical user does. We don't say because there are alcoholics we should get rid of booze. We don't say because there are gambling.
We tried that.
Yeah, we did, and it had some effects where it did reduce the number of drinkers in the country, but it exacerbated problems.
Lots of deaths from alcohol.
Actually, when you look at the figures during the Prohibition, I worked out the murder rate, for example. The murder rate went up during Prohibition by 35%. But it went up in the years before, exactly the same period, by 85%. And between 1900 and 1906, it went up by 325%. It's true that it went down after Prohibition, but I don't think it had anything to do with Prohibition.
Well, this is a pretty thin supposition. The legacy of Prohibition in the United States was organized crime. We know that the drug war has created a similar type of violent gang activity that is around the contraband distribution.
Now, let's talk about the next 4 years. You got a couple states legalizing beyond so-called medical use.
Right.
That's how Prohibition ended, when some states said we're not going to enforce this.
That's right. And
what's going to happen?
We're at the beginning of that, where Colorado and Washington, by large margins, 55, 56% of the people saying yes to legalizing all aspects of marijuana production, consumption, use. What happens next for the Obama administration is a much more difficult question, because he was against the states getting the right to decide this type of thing. The Supreme Court has ruled against the states in terms of medical marijuana. They said federal law
prevails.
There is no reason to believe that Obama is going to go gentle into this good night, which will be a lot more interesting, a lot more fun, and a lot more laid back because of legal marijuana. But I think he will have to eventually assent to it.
My guess is that he will try, if he's a typical politician, as I suppose he is, to satisfy both sides at the same time.
And this is what calls me some of the hypocrisy in that clip we played of President Obama saying, yeah, I inhaled, that was the point. He's laughing. And that seemed odd. And then again, a few years later, once he was president, he got an online question about medical marijuana.
I don't know what this says about the online audience, but
ha ha, so
but
funny.
I just want I don't want people to think that this was a fairly popular question. We want to make sure that it was answered. The answer is no. I don't think that is a good strategy to grow our economy. So
he's saying, I smoked weed, yeah, it was great, laugh, laugh, ha, ha, but I'm going to lock you up.
This is one of the most cynical dimensions of Obama as a politician, and he gets a free pass from people in the media and people who support him who think he's on their side. He's shown no indication of that. He's even upped the ante by running a campaign ad with one of the actors who went on to serve him from the Harold and Kumar franchise.
Yeah, well, let's play that ad, and I can't believe that this was part of the official Obama campaign.
Hey, this is Barack. Listen, I need to know if you're on board. Okay, good. Because I'm counting on you. Everybody is. We have to get this right.
Standard stuff so far, but then...
Just remember that I'm trusting you on this, and I'll see you there.
Dude, who was that? Sounded intense.
The president.
Sweet.
So again, ha ha ha, what a joke, these stoner guys. I enjoyed their movies. Harold and Kumar go to White Castle and all that. But he's locking up thousands of people.
That's right.
I mean even you who support the war must think this is wrong.
Well, I mean, of course, and the same thing has happened in England, although in England we don't lock up people for possession, for example. What happens is the politicians say they're very much against cannabis. They maintain the law which prohibits it, but in fact they don't try to enforce the law. That's the difference between the United States. There's no effort in Britain to enforce the law.
This, you know, the war on marijuana in particular and the ongoing federal war is not just wrong, but it is absolutely corrupting of the moral fiber of the country. If you have the president making fun of laws that he himself is prosecuting, hundreds of thousands of people are arrested every year, 800,000 people for marijuana possession alone. This is not a laughing matter, and it's about time that he catches up with the American people who over the past 10, 15, 20 years have moved to a majority of people saying that marijuana should be legalized. That's the future, and it would be nice to think that at least in this case, Obama, who is constantly hauling out stupid social democratic ideals from Europe in the 70s, is actually looking forward.